Hey everyone, it's LP and I'm here to compare different versions of the Ultima Trilogy. That is the first Ultima Trilogy, the Age of Darkness. That's Ultimas 1, 2 and 3. So as you can see, I have two versions in front of you. They are subtly different and I just wanted to talk through some of those differences. The first thing you may notice is that this one has a demo copy on it. I actually have Ultima 4 also with demo copy, and it's just a hunch, but I think if you see an Origin box that has that green demo copy not for resale sticker on it, you're probably looking at a first edition of whatever that game is. I'd imagine that was the first drive, the first push to promote those games, get them out to stores, back in the 80s and the early 90s. So that's the first thing that's cluing me in that this is probably a first edition. Something else to notice is the format sticker. Now these are both IBM versions. This has the rectangular wraparound platform sticker. This has the oval one. Originally I thought this was a later sticker, but talking to Stu from Stu's Reviews, he kind of pointed out that this is actually found on a lot of the older titles, which is just an interesting thing to notice because I definitely think this is the original edition. I'm not sure why this would have an older sticker on it other than maybe they're using up old stock. I don't know, it's just something interesting to note. When looking at the Ultima Trilogy, probably the first thing you want to note is the box itself. Now, this, what I believe is the first edition, is an extremely glossy box. Now I just hold it up to the light and you can see it's bordering on reflective, mirror-like in its shininess. It's very sturdy. It's a very thick box, and both sides are just extremely shiny. Compared to this one over here, which is a much more standard Origin box, it's still got a sheen, but there's a matte finish. It's a little harder to show on the camera, but it has that slightly matter finish, and it just isn't quite as hyper reflective as the one on left. A little hard to show, but it's definitely there. The actual build quality is different as well. This has much crisper edges and corners. The way the paper's been folded here, it's kind of bunched on the side a little, and it's just a little looser the way it's attached compared to this one. Another interesting thing about these boxes is the hyper glossy version. Let's see if I can show this. Is actually a little wider than the second edition. So I don't know if you can see that. I want you to really see that there's just a few millimeters at the top there. It's narrower. Now that's interesting because if I'm right and this is the first edition, this is the second edition. This came out in 1989. This was re-released in 1990. However, this box was already a standard box for Origin games. So if you look at, if you go back to 1986 and you look at Ultima 1, it has the same format box exactly as what I think is the second edition, whereas you compare it to this one and there's a ledge. This one is slightly wider. So this was 3 years before this was even published. And the same is true for, Ultima 4, which came out, I believe, in 1987 on IBM. I don't know if you can quite see that, but it's definitely a little narrower. And then, no, we're doing that. Sorry, Ultima 4. And then Ultima 5, which I have here. And now this is the latest. This is the second edition of Ultima 5, and it has a Londonderry address on it. And this one came out in, I think, 1989 as well. And so it came out the same year as the Ultima Trilogy first edition, but the box is different. It's just curious. Okay, so let's jump into the box. If I just take the lids off both of them, move them to one side, you will already notice a couple of differences. This has the Origin sleeves, this does not. I can't be 100% sure they're original. I didn't buy these in the store. Obviously this one has sample on it, which goes with the demo sticker. And if you look on the actual discs themselves, they have review copy, not for resale, which this says demo copy, not for resale, but you get the gist. So we have the discs. Not all of them have the stamp, just the first one for Ultima 1, but there you have it. Here, same disc labels I've checked. I'm not going to bore you by pulling them all out, but they're exactly the same. They're a little cleaner in this particular box. Ooh. It's coming up. But other than that, there's no stamp. There's nothing to differentiate them though. So yeah, they're the discs. Now this is where we start seeing the real differences. The quick start instructions for the original version, the first edition, they were printed in color, and that depended on the platform. So I think there was orange and red for Apple, maybe there was a green one, maybe for Commodore, I can't remember. IBM was blue, but on all of the re-releases, the second edition, they always printed in black. And in fact, the paper on which they were printed was different. So this was printed literally on paper, and it's a booklet with staples. It's fine, it's just a little cheapy. Whereas this comes on a nice card fold out. So no staples, opens up, all in blue, and it's a much heavier weight of paper. So something to notice and to watch out for. And again, you can see the difference here for the player reference guide. We have kind of the tan parchment with the brown print, and then we have the plain white paper, just like the quick reference, with the black print. So this is the same deal. This is just paper with staples, nothing too exciting. This one is all monotone with the brown, but it's a heavier card, and it folds out. It's just slightly nicer to hold and feel in my hands. And then we get to the manual. Now the manual, this is really hard to show on camera. I was looking at it earlier. They look very similar. The print is slightly lighter. Wait, to focus. The print is slightly lighter with the Ultima Trilogy second release. It's just slightly denser print here. The paper, the cover is actually slightly textured, which I won't be able to capture on the camera, but there's a slight texturing, whereas it's just flat, nothing to it. And the paper in it is relatively similar, but the card is just slightly heavier again for the first edition. So just something to notice. And then finally, possibly most importantly, when we're talking about Ultima, we're often talking about maps. Now these are not cloth maps, but you can already see there is a difference. Here we have parchment print-esque background to all the maps. So it doesn't matter which one it was, whether it's Ultima 1 or 2 or 3, they have this lovely mottled tan kind of paper to give it that real antique feel, whereas the print quality is pretty much the same on the re-release, but it's just on boring white paper. Oops, sorry. So as you can see, maybe a slightly lighter print, but otherwise there's no difference other than this was printed on the parchment style paper and this was just printed on white cardstock. And that's true for all of them. I won't pull them all out and bore you with all of them, but that is true for all of the maps. So yeah, that's really it. It's just wanted to share those quickly. Of course, I think there's probably a lot of room there for, as they ran out of this version and they started printing this version, there may have been components that they still had remaining that they could put in this box. Or maybe the opposite, maybe they had these boxes, but they started running out of the components, they started using the reprinted components in this box. So when you're on eBay or you're running across them in the wild, you may find ones that miss a match, that feel mismatched, sorry. But I'm pretty sure these are as close to original as they could be, except they are both missing their registration cards, I believe, and I believe this one came with a blue, one of those blue origin registration cards, and I believe this one came with the black print one with the picture of Richard Garriott on the back. If any of you have a spare, particularly blue Origin registration card, let me know, because I'd love to complete this copy. But yeah, as I said, other than that, I think that's that. Just to quickly show you the backs to finish up. Oops, sorry. This one has the barcode. They had the exact same UPC, is my understanding. When they were sold in the store, they didn't change the UPC between the two versions. But this being a demo copy, I don't think they ever bothered to put on a barcode, so that explains that difference. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. Yeah, catch you guys later. Bye.